2011 agenda. Ordinance C-34-780 relating to alcohol advertising regulations established by the Washington State Liquor Control Board adopted a new section 10.08.280 to chapter 10.08 of the Spokane Municipal Code.
Thanks. Councilman Snyder, you want to refresh our recollection as to C-34-780, please?
Well, in a nutshell, last year the Liquor Control Board adopted a variety of rules that changed things for liquor licensees, and one of them was a limit on the amount of neon alcohol signs that were visible from the exterior of an establishment. But in doing so, they crafted the ability for cities to create a narrow exception to keep the status quo as it is today, where we really don't have a limit on how many signs can be visible from the street. The new Liquor Control Board rule would limit it to 4, and if we pass this ordinance tonight, we would create an exception for the city of Spokane to just leave the status quo as it is. This measure has come forth quite quickly, basically at the behest of business owners that have contacted me in the Spokane area, concerned about how this would affect their businesses, and how they would have to move or remove signs to comply with it. It seems like a kind of an onerous regulation on small business, and since this exception language was baked into the state rulemaking, we decided to push it forward and see if we can get that exception here in the city of Spokane, so we can just lift one more piece of red tape off of our local liquor licensees.
Thank you. We have a couple of folks signed up to speak on this. Again, this seems to be a fairly simple topic, so if somebody who has spoken before you do says what you want to say, please consider perhaps just saying you support that speaker. You have 3 minutes, starting with Marshall Powell. Mr. Powell. Good evening.
Good evening, Council President Shogan and council members. My name is Marshall Powell. I'm the general manager of the Elk Public House in Browns Edition and the 2-7 Public House on the South Hill. It greatly concerned me when I learned that the Washington State Liquor Control officers locally started to enforce this outdoor advertising law as it relates to neon signs. Neon signs are a key part of the design and atmosphere of bars and restaurants. When you visit a new city, neon signs help you find bars and restaurants and tell you what type of establishment they are before you even walk through the door. Neon signs contribute to a vibrant and lively downtown atmosphere. Bars and restaurants depend on neon signs as a cheap and effective means of advertising. The Elk and the 2-7, the restaurants I run, use them as open signs. If the neons are on, we're open. I would urge the City Council to pass this ordinance as stated. I would also like to commend the City Councils for acting so quickly on this issue. It was exactly 1 month ago today that I emailed Jon Snyder asking to review this law. And hopefully after tonight, we'll have a new ordinance that supports small business in Spokane instead of one that hinders them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrew Swanson.
Thank you, Council President and Council and staff. I'm Andrew Swanson. I'm the past president of the Washington State Restaurant Association Spokane chapter, and it's a fairly open and closed personal property issue we have going here. The Liquor Board, as Mr. Schneider said, had the foresight to give the cities the right to override this, and realizing that you have the authority, of course, to reverse this in the future. So we're not doing anything that can't be undone in the future should people go crazy. But you know what? The people have self-policed themselves. It's just like any other issue. Some bars have nothing. I mean, they're understated. Some are overstated, but it still gives that warm glow and welcomes people to their neighborhoods. The city plan calls for neighborhoods and corridors and things like that. And these are the identifiers in your neighborhood and the warm glow in that neighborhood that tells you to not go out and drink and drive, to just wander to your neighborhood bar and identifies what product they're serving. And some of those products are other city operations like Northern Lights Brewery and Dry Fly that have their signs and windows. So we're not just affecting the premise, but we're affecting other businesses that operate under that. And I appreciate your time and consideration on this issue, and thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you very much. Mr. McGrath, you have 3 minutes.
Council President, Council members, George McGrath. You know, people, I believe, really do look at the stupidity of laws that are passed. And this happens to be one of them that apparently little or no forethought was given to the effect of this ridiculous law. The businesses that we're talking about are not all of the Old West type bars with all kinds of signs hanging on them. You're talking about eateries, you're talking about nightclubs, you're talking about restaurants, family type restaurants, where they do utilize neon signs as a method of attracting business and informing people that they're there for business. These businesses employ a lot of people in the city of Spokane. I believe that the idea of not passing this particular ordinance would be pretty much reprehensible to the business community because it isn't benefiting the city of Spokane one iota, but it definitely is detrimental to the businesses who would be adversely affected.
Mr. Riles, you have 3 minutes. Do you wish? I guess you do.
Let's take that liquor board and set them out on back burner for a couple minutes. Jon Snyder, you don't have enough supporters from every restaurant, bar, and Big Easy. Used to be Big Easy, now it's the knitting factory. You don't have enough supporters up here talking about it. Only one guy was here from some bar up on South Hill, and you got only one. That advertisement is false advertisement out there. And you need to start emailing people, more people, and let them start putting this on channel 6, 4, and 2. Let them know we got this coming towards our neighborhood. And it's going to hurt a lot of these business people, owners, and big bosses. Let's keep those neon signs open. Let's don't demolish it, make it a black alley. Look at point A, point B. Let's do it next week. Let's bring this out on next gen and next week. Let's get more advertisement out there.
I'll take that as a comment and support. Anyone else? Council, Mr. Snyder.
Just a couple of things. I neglected to thank Councilmember Apple for helping co-sponsor this with me. He's the only member of the current council who's owned a tavern and so knows more of the effects than I do. Also, just wanted to make clear to folks at home that we are not making any changes to the city's current sign ordinance with this action. This is just addressing a liquor control board rule. The sign ordinance is a whole different process that is completely separate from this, and this will not affect anything in our current sign ordinance. And I also just want to thank the mayor for her leadership on her 7-Eleven initiative. This is definitely in the spirit of that same initiative, trying to do things to help small business in town.
Nancy?
I always thought that that warm glow came from what was being served on the inside. I did not realize it was the neon lights, but thank you for informing me. Sawani. Anyways, I'm more than happy to support this tonight. I think the legislation was wise in allowing us to have an exemption, and I'm happy that this is being brought forward in such a timely manner. Thank you.
Unfortunately, I think if you drink too much, your nose will be the glow.
I'm just happy to be able to vote yes.
Okay. Anything else? Prepare to vote. Thank you. Ordinance C 34.